Record cloud. All right. Welcome everyone to what we're calling the Licensing Playbook Live. Today's topic is getting a company to say yes. Does everybody want to get a company to say yes? Raise your hand.
Yeah.
Go like, yay. Okay, good, good. Then you're in the right place. Yes to what? We don't know. No, to licensing the product, of course. We're streaming every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific, which is right now, or it could be 6 p.m. Mountain or 7 Central for you, or 8 Eastern, depending on where you are. And we always get people that are overseas and other places too. So we welcome everybody from around the world and the United States. My name is Andrew Krauss. I co-founded InventRight with Mr. Stephen Key over 26 years ago. It says 25. I think it's 26 now. Stephen, where are you? There he is. There's Stephen. This weekly webinar is your go-to guide for learning how to license your product ideas to companies that are actively looking for innovation, which is most companies these days. It's not all, but it is the vast majority of them. So each week we'll break down real-world strategies and exact steps you need to take to get in the front door of companies. You'll learn how to pitch with confidence, avoid common mistakes, and dramatically increase, yes, dramatically, and there's more, your chances of landing that licensing deal. Thanks for joining us. Feel free to ask your questions in the chat box if you're here on Zoom. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, because we're streaming live to all those platforms, you can type your questions into the chat. Try to get to as many as we can. We can also unmute you if you're here on Zoom, and maybe we can do some live questions. Dana is here with us today. Dana, raise your hand. She's our Gateway Outreach Manager. Chad is also here. Chad, there's Chad. So they're both part of our outreach team. They're the team, part of the team. We actually have several more people, 3 others, or more than that now, that will reach out to companies on your behalf. So it's good to have them here. My name's Andrew. I'm one of the co-founders. You met Stephen over there in the black. He's one of the co-founders. So today's topic, again, getting a company to say yes. You'll learn how to put your product's benefit front and center. Speak to what a company cares about. That's important. It's not just what you care about, it's what they care about, right? And reduce the uncertainty that stalls decisions. Stephen, we've seen many deals kind of get stalled because the inventor didn't move things forward correctly. So you want to smooth that out. And so let's get going.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because at the very beginning you said that not every company is open to see ideas. Well, that's true. But what company doesn't want to see a new idea? I mean, innovation's not going to stop, and new is everything. You go to a trade show, and the first thing anybody will tell you, all the buyers are saying, "What's new?" So when you said that, it kind of made it was interesting to me because the companies that say they don't want to work with us is because we've done something wrong. Hate to say it, but we have. We've done something that, for some reason, they put up a wall. They might say you need a patent, which is ridiculous. And they might say that we don't take outside ideas. Why? Because we've done something. So we want to change all that. InventRight, the company that I started with Andrew Krauss over 26 years ago, there was really only one mission. The mission when we were educating everybody was that how you could not be that person they don't want to talk to. That's all it was really about. How could you be a pro? And we're going to talk a lot about being a pro during these webinars, these Wednesday webinars. But tonight we're going to talk about how to get a company to say yes. And I think it's really important because I got a call from a very good friend and a member of our community and said, "Hey, I've got my ideas to a lot of companies at the moment, but they say they love it. I went to a trade show, I got to meet everybody, but it's not going forward." And it got me thinking that, yeah, I think there's a lot of projects that are kind of stalled a little bit. So tonight we're going to talk about how to get a company to say yes. And we're going to talk about all the different things that you can do because they are saying yes. It's just that they're being a little bit more picky. And we'll talk about that. Okay, so the first thing I want to say, the first thing you need to do to get that yes is make sure you have absolutely identified the right company. I've heard it a million times. Dana's heard it. Chad's heard it. The whole team at the Gators are hearing it all the time. And that's one reason why companies love the new program Gateway, because we vet the products very carefully. We spend a lot of time to make sure it is a very good match. In fact, it's a marriage. I think Gateway is more like a dating site, to tell you the truth. We look at the product, we make sure it's got everything it needs that a company would to could take it and put it right in the product line. So that's the first thing. Dana, let's talk a little bit about that. You search the companies out. What does it mean a good match, and how do you identify, and what do you do to find make sure it's a good match?
Well, there's a couple things I look at. First of all, I want to look at the about section on their website and see what they're all about. Make sure that they're manufacturing their own brands and they're just not a distributor. But don't ever discount companies that are only distributors, because sometimes you can find brands on that website that they're distributing, of course. So we have to do our research. Somebody asked me today in our leap session, what do you mean by research? You're an investigator. You're investigating. We are like private investigators. And sometimes you have to dig really, really deep and to find out exactly what they do. And then I'm going to look at their product line. If I'm doing a baby safety product, we'll use that for example, I want to make sure that they do baby safety products. They could do baby toys, they could do baby mattresses, they could do baby changing tables, they could do all this baby stuff. But if they're not doing anything in safety products, they're probably not a good fit.
Well, they should though. I mean, Dana,
Yeah, they should change everything and do it.
Wait a
Yeah.
minute, they could. It could be a great opportunity that they're missing.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a great example, Dana. But then sometimes I've noticed inventors get too specific. Well, I have a garlic press, and you find this company that's got a whole line of kitchen gadgets, and they don't have a garlic press, but they have stuff that's totally adjacent, and they just didn't want to do garlic presses because they're really generic. Now your cool garlic press, they might say, oh, well, finally, we'll get into garlic presses. So sometimes I think your point is absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
Sometimes people go too far. If they're not selling exactly what I have, that's going too far.
Right.
There can
Exactly.
be that too.
In fact, we're both right. And that's where it can get a little confusing.
Right.
We're
I like
both
to point,
right.
yep. And I like to point that out to inventors. If you found a company, if you think that you're trying to find a company that's selling your exact product, then your product isn't unique enough. I mean, because a lot of times we have to go into those different brands and kind of there's a whole new category for this product, so it's like it kind of falls in between here and it kind of falls in between there because the product is unique. So there isn't always a company that sells your exact thing that you came up with. I mean, yes, there's different variations of other products. I don't necessarily mean that, but if you have an innovative product, you might not find a company that's quote unquote a good fit. And I don't like ruling anything out, to Andrew's point. And then also you might not know if that brand is okay. So like Dana said, so you might reach out to a company and they make baby toys, but you don't, just by glancing at their website, you don't realize that they're a part of a bigger affiliate that has like 4 or 5 baby brands and maybe the other one has it. So you, like she was saying, digging deeper. So at first glance, you can't always tell what they're doing. And the best way to do is just to either, dig in or call them.
How much time do you spend doing that, Dana? 10 minutes?
It really depends on how big. Like I got into a company yesterday, they have 35 brands.
So how do you research all that?
Well, I found them because one of their brands was in a product in a category that we're reaching out for a gateway client. That's how I found that. I found that brand, and then I dug a little bit deeper and I found out the parent company was this brand. And then when I went to that parent company website, that's when they said brands, and like 35, I think it was 38 brands popped up.
So Chad, do I go to the corporate company or do I go to the individual brand?
It really just depends. I usually like to go to the individual brand first if I can. But if they start saying you've got to call corporate, you've got to go. Now, this particular item, I did go to corporate. I went right to corporate. Only because I wasn't quite sure about it. And I actually got a response. And how long did it take? I don't know. It might have taken me 15 minutes to find it, research it. Took me a minute to call.
Okay.
It took me a minute to send over the sell sheet, and within a couple hours, I had a response.
So Chad, what do you do?
No, yeah, Dan's got a good point. As far as what specifically?
Well, you deal with a lot of tool companies that probably have a lot of brands within the tools. You call the corporate number or the
Yeah,
individual
so
brand?
I like to reach out to the individual brands themselves, and a lot of times because a lot of those will make those decisions independently. But if that is not the case and it's ran by the parent company, you'll find that out pretty much immediately.
Okay.
Because either they'll say like customer service will tell you, well, oh, we don't have anyone specifically deals with that. Our parent company does, and they can kick you up the
Oh, great. Okay, you guys, the second thing is really great marketing material. I cannot stress that enough. If you think you're doing it yourself, I think you're making a huge mistake because today there's so many other really wonderful designers out there that can help your marketing material look fantastic, but you have to be the art director. There is a certain format. Sometimes you need to look at how they're formatting their own products so that you kind of look a little bit like them. If they're using blues, don't use purples or don't use pinks. I mean, think about it. But also, Dana, you have to be an art director here too. You have to know about one-line benefit statements at the very top and maybe a big picture. How many sell sheets have you seen where you don't even know where the product is and you're looking all around the page to find the big picture of the product?
Well, when I'm talking to an inventor that doesn't know anything about sell sheets, very rarely do I see a sell sheet that I understand immediately. Many times I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at. I don't understand. There's too many words, not enough images, too many images,
Okay.
too many pictures that I don't know exactly what the product is. Now, what we do over here with our graphic design team and Gateway, we create the sell sheet for our clients, so we know how to create them. Where that sell sheet, when you send over a sell sheet and you open it up, that product should hit them in the face, and that benefit should hit them in the face. They should get it immediately. But
Okay.
yeah,
Well, and I think the big, you know this, Stephen, all too well from us doing this for 26 years. The big mistake people make is they don't realize the sell sheet's not for the company at all. It's for their customer. So you want to make it easy for them. You're talking about less friction, make it easier for them to say yes. They don't have time to think like, how can I make this marketing better, right? You want them to look at the sell sheet, to look at the video and go, oh,
Okay.
I could send this marketing and my customer would be interested.
Okay. So the main point, your marketing material needs to educate within seconds. And if you don't know if it does, hand it to someone you don't know and see what they say.
Mhm.
Right.
And if they don't know what it is, you got a problem, right?
Mhm.
Because just like if you're writing a book or writing an article, you need an editor. You need someone that you don't know looking at it for the first time and fine tune it and make sure it doesn't have a lot of clutter. You guys, I see so much clutter on it. You're trying to
Yeah.
be cute with it. To get all that stuff out of there. Make it just simple. Because if you look at products on people's site or even on Amazon, wherever you see them, they're pretty clean, aren't they? Because it lets the product be the star of the show. Now, sometimes you have to have a couple other images there that maybe tell a story, but I know you want to tell them everything, but they only care about one thing. What are you doing for my customer? Right? So you have to really nail it. Okay, jump real quick. You guys, the videos. How important are videos today? Dana.
Uh, it depends. It depends what the product is. If it's a very, very simple product, maybe a video isn't necessary. But if your product is demonstratable and it's really needs to be demonstrated for them to really get what the solution is, what problem your product solves, then I think a demo video is so much or just as important as the sell sheet or more important even.
Important.
Yeah.
Hey, Chad, what about the wow factor of a 1 minute video? Don't go too long. We've talked about that a million times. You can do it yourself. In fact, I think we're going to do a segment, if we haven't already, how to do videos because they need to be done in a certain way. They don't have to, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but the format needs to be really tight. But what about the delivery of the benefit? Chad, what about the wow factor? How important is that?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've like you said, we've gone over that a bunch of times. We go over that time and time again because it's super important. A lot of the times when I get an answer back from a company and it is like a pass or a rejection on the client's product, a lot of the times that answer is because just very simple. There's a lot of similar products on the market. You know what I mean? They're looking at that marketing material and they're seeing that as something that they've already seen before. And if you can make yours stand out and have that wow factor, that's going to get them talking. That's going to get them asking questions about the product. It's going to get them asking questions about the differences.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, Stephen, I agree with Chad. I think it's very important. If your product might be perceived as the same, just the same old, you've got to do a preemptive strike and you have to address that in the marketing. And maybe even the email itself, which is the cover letter, and say, there's a lot of stuff in this space, but this is my point of difference, but it should be in the marketing.
Yeah.
Well, 'cause
And
you know how it is about first impressions, you know what I mean? You might be able to go back and change that later, and it might, for that particular company, it might, it might be too late. Even if you change some things up and revisit that idea, you know.
You usually get one chance. You guys, let's talk about the point of difference today. I do believe the point of difference is so important today because companies are a little hesitant. The economy is not the best. There's a little pause happening here. So you just don't show your product. Tell them why it's better than the rest.
Right.
I mean, be obvious about it. In fact, if you have to do a second sell sheet that shows similar products, the material, the price point, the benefit, and show yours how it shines, absolutely do it 100%. Why are we talking about this level of detail? You have to make it easy, easier today than ever. You just have to. And the reason why, I think everybody's overworked. I think everybody's overstressed. I think they've cut some of the staff, but also remember that person that sees it is going to share it with other people. Not just that one person. It's going to be shared. So your point of difference, why is it better than everything else? And if it's not better, maybe you need to rethink your product or make it better. It has to be better because it's going to replace products on the store shelf.
no, it's not always better, Stephen. What else can it be? Can it be just cheaper?
Well, let's get to that.
Yeah.
Here's the second part of that. If you want the 1-2 punch here, tell them it's cheaper or the same price, even if you don't know it. Oh, did I just say that?
You did.
Say that, you guys?
You did.
You're not wrong.
That sounds terrible.
There's a million different variables when they're reaching out to manufacturers. If they're going to a contract manufacturer, who's to say that your price wasn't, $2 off from the next guy that they're going to reach out to? I mean,
Well, they're going to have to do their own homework no matter what you say. They're going to have to do their own homework no matter what you say. But I know this works for a fact because my job was to reach out to a very large company, and I did it with a short paragraph. And the short paragraph said, the benefit is better than existing products and it is cheaper. And they got back to me instantly.
Mm.
And I didn't know if it was or not.
Did it turn out to be?
A little bit.
Well, I bet you got pretty
Who
good
cares now? Now they don't care.
Was packaging, isn't it? You did a lot of stuff in packaging, and isn't it like fractions of a penny make a huge difference when you're
I think it's a lot, but was it enough to cut the deal? No. Was it enough to get in the door? Yes. And that's all about getting them to see it. We can work on those details later. In fact, no one's even brought it up since. But guess what? They opened that email. They wanted more information. They wanted to see that video right away. 1-2 punch every single time. Better than other products on the market. And here's the reason why. And it's cheaper.
Now, Stephen, sometimes some people here might misinterpret that and use our favorite phrase. Dana and Chad, we know this is not a favorite phrase. There's nothing like it. So why shouldn't we say that? Why is that not the right thing to say ever?
even if there isn't anything like that, you still
Don't say it anyway.
Don't say that.
Don't say it anyway. It's just a newbie, baggy, needy, unprofessional way to talk to them.
And no matter how thorough you think you did your search, I bet you that there's something similar out there. And that's, I mean, that's not always the case, but you don't want to go claiming that there's nothing out there like it when they can do a 30-second Google search and find out that there is. You know, like you gotta have you gotta be thorough when you're doing that. I mean, that's anytime that's my go-to. Anytime that I have a new idea, that is always my first step. Go to Google, see if there's anything like it out there. That's the first thing that we do when we're reviewing products. Go to Google. Is there anything like that out there? You can dive deeper. You can get into it, patent searches, IP, all of that stuff. But your first go-to thing is it on the market right now?
You guys, this is something else that I've noticed that successful inventors do. They show their product to enough people,
Yep.
potential customers that are going to use it and get feedback.
Yeah. I had a company demand that on one of my own products. They said, go, you know, they said, you have samples? I said, yeah. They said, good, go use them and get feedback. You know, like,
Yeah, the reason why they might say something, you might discover a benefit that you didn't realize. You might understand that's something you need to change. There might be something there that you really weren't aware of because you're using your own gut and you're using your own gut here. But don't take a chance. You know, have them sign an NDA. So what? But get real life and get people's opinion and use that because there might be some language or benefit or something you need to protect or something you didn't even think about. But I think most successful people do it over and over and over again. So they know exactly that customer. And that's
Yeah.
the other thing I want to make. They know the customer is going to want it. And you have to convey that now to the company.
But don't rely on those people you talk to. You know, in focus groups, they've said that only 1 in 10 people that said they would buy it will actually buy it when you ask them to open up their wallet. So you can't count on that. But they can give you all sorts of they're like, they look at your sell sheet or they look at the product, they're like, oh, it does this. And you're like, no, 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 that's not how it works. And you're observing them using it the wrong way. And you're like, oh crap, I need to fix that. People are reacting to this in the wrong way, but if I fix it like this, now they won't. So, but don't everybody that says, oh yeah, I'll buy that, most of them won't. And
Okay.
that's okay. So you're not looking for that. You're looking for feedback as to them perceiving the product different than you do, which a lot of times they will.
You know, someone that I really I respect greatly, Aaron Krauss, he did the Scrub Daddy, and he's such a good salesperson. But the reason why he became such a great salesperson, he just talked to so many people.
Mhm.
He just knew the customer. And so I think you need to do that. Okay, next, here's the last thing, and then we'll open it up for questions, you guys. Um, you have to, and I said this at the very beginning, the reason why we started InventRight over 26 years ago was to teach you to say the right thing and be an asset. Because I think, and we've said this before, they're interviewing you more than you think. I used to think it was just the product that counted, that if the product was great enough, I didn't need a great marketing material. I didn't need something, you know, maybe I could do a okay job. And I think maybe there's a time where you could have done that, but I don't think so today. And I saw that with Dana on a call when we had early on when we had the inventor on a call with the company and it just didn't go well. And I was cringing because I think it was the inventor who was going to kill the deal.
Mhm.
It wasn't the idea, it was the inventor. Ooh, you guys, you don't want to be that person. So what does that mean? That means when you have that Zoom call, make sure you got a great background, you got a good camera, you got a good audio. Make sure you're dressed appropriately. Make sure you understand licensing. Maybe sure you've done a couple homework. Maybe you just listen, right? Maybe ask them, what do they see? What do they like about it? Ask them how important intellectual property is. Ask them some questions that you can use later. Make sure they know you're reasonable. When they ask you what type of royalty rate you want, and they're going to ask that because they're going to see if you're crazy or not. But you can't give them a royalty rate at the very beginning because you haven't seen the whole contract. So you have to be knowledgeable enough to say, look, I haven't seen the whole contract, but I am confident that we can come to some number that works for all of us. You want to leave a message to them that you're reasonable, right? And because if you're not reasonable, they will walk away from you so fast because they have to bring you in. Know what it is? You're getting married, right? And they want to make sure they're the right person for the marriage. And if you don't look like the right match, they don't care how great your product is. And I know there's a lot of questions you want to ask them. And I know you're concerned that you want it to be made in recyclable material, or you want it to be made in the US, or you want to be that certain colors. You guys have to realize you're giving it to them to make good decisions. It's not in your hands anymore. You might be able to mention those things later, what they think about it, what are your thoughts? But the minute you start making demands, they're going to walk. So you have to do some of these things. I think today's environment is a little harder, but also, so what we're talking about is that you need to step your game up a little bit better. You need to stand out among all these other people. And I tell you, it's easy to stand out if you know what you need to do to stand out and take the time to be that person they want to work with. Yeah.
I have a question.
And go ahead, Chad.
I'll just so that's a lot. You said a lot of things, and we say a lot of things in these meetings, and that's if you're just getting started, that's a lot of things to do, a lot of things to be, a lot of things to pay attention to. I mean, that can be overwhelming. I mean, but we don't. I mean, in your opinion, we don't need to know all of those things to get started, right? You know what I mean? We didn't know that when we started. I mean, it's great to watch these videos, but I don't want us to come off in the fact that if you see how we lay it all out, just to have that stop you from reaching out just because you feel like you don't know every little piece of that. I mean, you learn that as you go. You watch these videos and you incorporate that as you go. You change your script as you go, So I mean that I watched Invent right in the beginning. I guess it seems a little overwhelming to the amount of knowledge that compared to someone who just starts reaching out. I guess that's my
Start with the companies you don't care about.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
it.
And
Yeah.
I'm going to give another tip.
Don't
ahead,
go after
Stephen.
your favorite. Don't go after your number one. Go after the company you don't care about. And guess what? You'll get a little practice.
We got a couple people starting at Gateway that are just getting started out. I thought it would be kind of interesting just have them practice, just have them reach out to the companies that we know aren't open. See how
Yeah.
You never know.
I think you need to be yourself and know what some of the questions they're going to ask. We've done, if you're new to this webinar series that we do every Wednesday, make sure you go to InventRight TV. We have them all up there. And every topic, I think we've done now for, I don't know how many's up there. I think we've done for 4 months, every week for 4 months. Is it 4 months?
Oh, wow. I don't know.
About right. Something like that.
There's tons of them. Just
we
watch
just we just do stuff. We don't really look back. We just keep
We don't
looking forward.
count.
Well, I looked at them the other day and I thought, geez, but that's from A to Z, everything in between. And like I said, you're going to be nervous. That's okay. Be enthusiastic. That's perfectly fine. But one thing I do know, if you don't love your product, how are they ever going to love it either? So it's okay. Be enthusiastic, listen, ask good questions, educate yourself, right? And make sure that when you get them on the line, you're a little bit more informed. Just don't jump into the water without taking a couple laps around the pool first. Yeah.
We'll do some questions here in a sec, but I wanted to give some random, different, very important things to say with getting a company to say yes, because that's the topic today, right? Getting a company to say yes. If you have weird requests, so what's a weird request? One is we've had members that were students of ours say, I want to ask them, for any company that shows interest, if I can still sell it. Now, that is a weird request. You're trying to get this big, huge company to sell your product, maybe sell tens or hundreds of thousands of units, or for some products, millions of units. And you're asking them if you can still sell it. It's like, well, is this your baby? Are you willing to give it up? That's the perception. So if you have that request, now what's kind of funny, I've noticed over the years, the people that asked me that up front before they started reaching out, once they started reaching out and they were getting some interest, they're like, no, I don't want to bring that up. I'm good. Like, I would love this company to sell it. Okay. But don't bring up the weird request earlier. don't shoot the deal in the foot in them thinking that it's your baby. And mention those weird things like it has to be manufactured in the United States, or I want to be able to sell it myself and I'm not doing a deal, or it has to be purple and it can't be pink. If you have something crazy to say, lean on somebody that's going to hopefully get you to not say it or give you some perspective or a right way of asking it. But if you're going to ask it so far down the line when you're doing the contract that they're not going to pull out.
What Steven
Okay?
says it's a marriage. You don't tell them all the weird stuff on the first date, man.
Exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
I want to talk about the reasons why they say no. Because let's go the other direction. When a company says we're not interested, what does that mean? Because they're not going to give you a lot of, some they'll give you feedback sometimes if they know you, maybe, but they'll just come back and they'll tell you we're not interested. Well, what do you do with that? What does that really mean?
Most of the time, it means that they have a legitimate reason that they don't feel like they're obligated to explain to you.
Well, let me tell you where the 5 reasons are. Because it's really simple. The first reason, it's probably not a good fit. That's number 1. Not a good fit. You didn't do the homework. Okay. All right. Simple enough. Your product, like you said before, doesn't have a big enough point of difference for us to take your product and kick ours to the curb. I mean, that makes perfect sense. I mean, if I'm going to take yours, I've got to take one and replace it with it. So that makes perfect sense. Number 3, they look at it and they might think, well, with all those bells and whistles you just showed me, it's probably too expensive. And do you think they're going to do a cost analysis every time they see a new idea? No, they're going to use their gut instincts. And you know what inventors do? Come on, you guys, we build Cadillacs. That's what we do. We don't show them VWs. We do Cadillacs. So maybe you need to think about which one of those 3 they might say to you. The next one might be maybe it's just timing of the season. Because there is a timing of every industry. They tell you there isn't. They're lying. There is. Look at the major trade show, work it back 10 months. All right. So when they tell you those, you have to look at your product now and go, okay, let me look at it now. Do I really have a point of difference? Is it a good match? Yes or no? Okay, go back and look at it. You can learn something. Go back and say, is it really better than what's out there? And what about my cost? What about my timing? Now, if you realize that you have kind of messed up a little bit here, or maybe you didn't explain your point of difference, or one of those things, give it a little bit of time, fix it, and go back. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to go back. Maybe wait a month, maybe 2 months, but go back and say, look, thank you for reviewing it. Come back and say, look, I made some changes. I'd like for you to take a second chance at this. But make sure, not just send the same thing again. Don't do that. Make some changes that you think might be a second sell sheet showing similar products. Maybe you've designed it so it's a little low cost, and tell them that now the cost is lower than similar products, the point of difference, but make sure you go back. But just because they're not interested doesn't tell you anything, but those are usually the reasons why.
And to play off what Steven is saying, never ever assume that your marketing materials or whatever email you're going to send a company that said you can send it over is correct. Never assume that. I have people that are professional marketers, they say. I look at their sell sheet and I'm like, this is garbage. This isn't, they're up in their own head. It's their product. This is not good enough. So one of the things that Steven was alluding to earlier, do the laptop test. You can do this with anybody in your family or any close friends. And they don't have to be professional marketers. They don't have to understand your product. You can only do this with people that have never seen your product before. Put it on your laptop or your computer, stand behind the computer, turn it on, whether it's the video or the sell sheet or whatever the marketing piece is, and look at their face. Look if there's confusion. Listen to them talk. When they talk, don't say, oh, yeah, that's what that. No, don't. Just let them talk. See if they naturally figured it out. Now, this could be your grandma. This could be your spouse. This could be, but they have to be somebody that's never seen it before, because that's who the marketing person is. They've never seen it before. But I can tell you, and I'm not exaggerating, Dana said it earlier, more or less, when I see sell sheets from inventors that are outside InventRight, 90% of the time I'm like, this is not good enough. 90%. Some of them are okay. They're not all terrible, but 90%. So you're
But see,
already getting yourself off on a terrible foot if you're doing all this effort to reach out to companies and what you're sending is not getting the point across as well as it could.
but you know what it is? You're competing with everybody else now. You're competing with AI and great copy. You're competing with working with people that can do 3D computer generated samples that look real. You're working with people that know how to build prototypes that look amazing. You're going up against people that know how to do a 1 minute video that shows a wow factor. That's who you're dealing with today. Everything's gotten better. You guys, when I first started doing this with Andrew, if you had a sketch on a napkin, you were in the game.
That was 26 years ago, though. The standards are a lot higher now.
They've gotten so much higher because the technology has gotten so much better.
Yeah.
So you need to up your game too, because look at who you're dealing with. You're actually dealing with people that have done it. You're dealing with, like in the toy industry, just so you know the numbers here. Most of those companies that in the toy industry is probably getting 2,000 to 3,000 submissions a year, maybe as much as 5,000. And there's top toy firms, like 200 that are at the top, and they're not just independent people in a garage or the back bedroom. They're design firms.
But
And
outside of the toy business, most companies don't get that many,
the
Stephen, right?
kitchen, no, they don't. But the kitchen industry is the same thing. Like OXO, most of the products that are licensed to OXO are design firms. So where are you in that world? Now, I do know one thing, though. There's one thing that trumps all of it. A damn good idea. That's one thing that trumps all the fanciness I just talked about. The one thing that stands out among everything is a really good idea. So if maybe you don't have the skills or maybe you don't have that type of partnerships or teamwork yet, if that's not the case, just make sure your product is amazing. That's how you do it today.
Or just cheaper. The same thing, but cheaper. That could be that, or both. Both. That's most people don't have both. So don't think it's better and cheaper. That's rare. But if Steven's point is very important, if you have that, you should say it every freaking time.
Oh gosh.
And Steven's kind of basically saying, hey, sometimes you're not sure about the cheaper part. Just say it anyway. If it's just blatantly obvious, it's going to be twice the price. Don't say that. But then you got to ask yourself, like, why am I working on this project? Will people tolerate that price increase?
Well, I will tell you, if you show them a Cadillac and everybody's having a hard time paying their rent today, you have a little uphill battle going on here. Also realize that if you've got a product that feels more of a need than a want, that's not a bad idea either. Or if you have a product that's easy to implement, some of the ideas I work on, it takes $1 million to do a test. So what I do with some of my own, I get a customer that wants it. So you've got to look at this a little bit differently today, I think. I think you need to up your game. I think you have to be a little bit more educated. I think you've got to, you guys, and all the information's out there today. It's not like it wasn't out there. It's all out there. You can watch a YouTube on anything we're talking about. You can go to our channel. We talk about it with over 1,200 videos. If I want to learn about marketing material, one-line benefit statements, or sell sheets, or 3D computer printed prototypes, it's all out there. Okay. God, was I tough on everybody tonight? Sorry, you guys. And the reason being, I just think there's a reality to it today. And
if you guys haven't checked it out, I did an hour-long Q&A during COVID for a couple years. And so if you go to our YouTube channel, you click on the logo and then you go to live and you page down a little bit, you'll see like endless hour-long Q&As, which are totally free. So if you guys are really determined to do it on your own, you should watch those. Can we do some questions, Stephen?
Absolutely.
Okay. This is from UBG Creations. They're watching live on YouTube. More in line with last week's topic, but in case there is time to answer. How do you feel about companies that require online submissions, do not give review timelines, and state that they don't have to reply? So I don't like the part about they don't have to reply. It's like, I mean, of course they don't have to reply, but it's like, what do you, Dana, Dana and Chad, you're reaching out all the time. You rarely use submission forms because you don't find them to be effective. Sometimes you just do it for shits and giggles, I guess.
Well,
But
there's an exception to us. I don't know about you guys. So say we call a company and I talk to Mary Smith, and Mary Smith says, and this has happened, you have to use the portal, but I'm the one who looks at them. They come to me or they come to my team. Therefore, we would go in, read all the fine print on the portal, submit through the portal because that is their process. But we have someone to follow up with because we just talked to Mary Smith and she's the one that we can follow up with in a couple weeks. That's very rare that that happens, but it has happened. Generally, what I will do with online submission portals is I will contact them through the online submission portal. I'm not submitting anything, I'm just contacting them. Can you explain to me your review process? How long, some simple questions. I've done that before. Usually, 99% of the time you're not going to get a response, but I have gotten responses like that. It's not a common practice that we do though.
let me pose this related question to Chad. Chad, if an inventor, somebody's new to this, they're listening right now to us, and they said, I'm just going to find all the companies in my category that have portals, and that's the way I'm going to license my product. What would you say to them?
I think it's more important to address why portals have that, what do you want to call it, like that whole negative aspect to them, and why everyone says, oh, portals, it's like throwing your product down a black hole and all of that. So the thing about portals, it's not that the company is not getting your product. Most of the time someone has probably seen it, reviewed it, and looked at it, and then passed right on it. The thing about the portals is that there's no way to follow up, and that's what we do. That's a lot of time follow up is the majority of what we do. So I think that's the big thing about the portals. I'm not against submitting to portals. It's not the first thing in like my arsenal. I have a kind of like almost what do you call that, mode of operations where, I work down the line. So if I haven't gotten through on a phone call, LinkedIn, email, yeah, I'll submit through a portal or ask, like Dana said, ask about it through a portal. But if you can submit to the portal and then spend also time trying to find someone to follow up with, I think that's even better.
You know what I think? I think you have to do it a little differently with portals. Some companies are really smart because they want to document them. They come in, everything else. I also think companies are lazy. That they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I think they're just lazy. I don't think they're that serious if you've got a portal.
Well, and also I look portal, like define that, you know what I mean? So like, I guess when I'm thinking of a portal, I'm thinking of like a non-specific company, not doesn't make a specific product. I think of it as more of like a kind of like a catch-all for just like product submissions, I guess. Like I don't look at like as one brand specific submission procedure as like a quote unquote portal. It's for them. Like some of those, portals like the contact us form on the website. I don't necessarily look at that as a
No,
portal.
I don't need. No, but sometimes portals have value. You guys don't get me wrong, but how do you stand out when you submit through a portal?
Right.
I think that's the issue here. How do you show your point of difference? Are they going to allow you to download a sell sheet or a video, or do they ask for a short paragraph? I think that's where the issue is.
Some of them won't even let you upload a PDF.
So
I mean, what are you showing them?
So
I got a way around that, but
so you're pitching in a portal. You have to look at it a little differently, and you've got to be even better than what we just talked about. Right? Because you don't have the ability to dance on the table with all the other stuff we talked about tonight. Your paragraph, your one line, your two lines, your three lines have to be so good, so pointed that they're going to call. So that's a whole nother animal. That's why I don't like portals. I think it's a poor way to get your point across. And I also think the companies are lazy. That's why I don't like portals.
Hey, so Jeremiah wrote, Which works better for licensing, proven product innovations or unique new invention concepts? So I think what he's saying is if I venture my product and I sell it myself and it's proven that people will buy it, or just a new invention concept, I would say probably 95%, 90 to 95% of people that we help have not sold a single unit. And we do licensing deals all the time with people that have not sold a single unit. To feel like, now with that said, if you've been running a business and you've been selling it for 2 or 3 years and you got a track record and you're in all these places and you got all these testimonials, is that going to be nice? Yeah, hell yeah, it is. Now, if you've been selling it for 2 or 3 years and you got a total sales of 500 units, okay. They're like, well, what happened there? Like, I like your testimonials. And you have to then say, I'm just testing it out. I don't know what I'm doing. You guys are a right match, and got to kind of make excuses and stuff. So, but for you to say, oh, I have to venture it, tool up, manufacture, quit my day job, start a business, sell it for a couple years in order to then approach companies to license it, that's ridicululous. And
I,
it's that's,
yeah,
I think what he was also
but
asking.
I also think one thing you have to realize too, yes, Andrew, I do agree with that. But some people have done that, and if you can do that and you can afford to do that, and you've got a lot of money to spend, maybe that's an option. I don't think it's a great option. But you guys, you have to realize 98% of all patents are not filed on new ideas. Do you know that? They're all improvements. Most people don't even know that. So that's what we're talking about when you're submitting an idea. It's an improvement. So that's why you have to be really good at that improvement. It's got a warrant for them to stop what they're doing, dump everything else they're doing, and take yours on. So that's why you really got to make sure that your product is better than the ones that are out there. Your improvement is better and you can prove it. The other thing someone asked I thought was really interesting too, Andrew, and you've seen this. What happens when you submit an idea in a crowded space?
mm-hmm.
Let's say a new iPhone case.
Oh, geez.
Okay,
Yeah.
what are the chances of
Well,
you standing out in a crowded space? Is that a good way to attack that, or is that something to recognize that it's going to be a little bit more difficult?
Well, that's a very particular that I could speak specifically to iPhone, cell phone cases. But cell phone cases, when it's a crowded space, you really need to find brands. Like you're not going to license to some company that's just dumping some knockoff product on Amazon and they're in China.
Okay.
That's not your company. But if you're doing a cell phone case, like a Belkin, an OtterBox, there's a bunch of like brand names you guys might be familiar with cell phone cases. Oh, you might approach them.
Okay.
Um,
But it's crowded.
it's
Good
crowded.
idea, bad idea. I think, well, number
It's
one,
both.
okay.
I don't think it's a bad idea, but you better make sure your product is flipping awesome. It just can't have a little tiny tweak to it. It has to be like, whoa, like wow. Yeah, we have a client that has a product that's a cell phone case in the cell phone case, and there's a wow factor to that.
Yeah.
And that's why we took it on because it's such a crowded space, but his product has such a wow factor.
Well,
Like
I
we've
think there's
never
good.
seen anything like it, and it's so
Do you
basically
say that, Dan?
simple. What?
You said you never seen anything like
I
it.
know, but we haven't.
No,
There's
that's
no
cool.
but it's so simple. It's so
I think it's
simple.
harder. I think it's
But
harder.
it's still a cell phone case. It's still a case.
I,
It just has a simple feature that's a
think it's
wow.
harder. Overall, I think it's harder.
It is.
I think the good thing is, oh crap, like there's so many companies making a products in this space. There's obviously a very big demand. And now I got more
Yeah.
companies to reach out to and
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay,
But
not bad.
if the point of difference is very small, but I think you need to look at the category. So with cell phone cases, you have to look at, I think, Stephen, the amount of innovation. So a lot of, I mean, probably 90% of cell phone case manufacturers are not innovative at all. It's just a new design.
Yeah.
That's a big factor. Like how much innovation is happening there too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, the cell phone case is definitely going to be slightly harder, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
It is.
What about
It is.
Hasbro Spark? That portal shut down. Why?
Yeah,
Hasbro,
I heard about that.
why?
Yeah.
What do you think? Why?
I don't
Companies
know.
struggling
I'll
big
tell you
time.
why.
Yeah.
It was a waste of time to begin with. And I'll tell you the reason why. Hasbro has two portals. They have the portals for inventors that are pro, and they have the one for the public. They open up to the public because the guy that was running Hasbro told us on an interview he's trying to find the next brilliant idea from people like us, and I believe he wanted that. I believe he wanted to find something that the pros weren't doing. He wanted people thinking differently. He wanted the volume to come in the door. But know what I think he didn't realize? Their mission had changed. Hasbro's mission is that they don't want anything new. They want to build line extensions.
Mhm.
And people that are submitting to the portal don't know that subtlety of it. In fact, a lot of the products that portal, I think Hasbro does, they don't even manufacture. They license them to other companies. They're trying to be very careful of staying profitable in this environment. And without knowing the little details, that level of detail about what Hasbro's doing, people that are just starting out submitting to the Spark, they're not going to hit that target because they don't have enough information. So I think they finally shut it down because it wasn't producing what they wanted it to produce.
Well, and they'll tell inventors, they told us. They said behind the scenes what they're really looking for, Stephen,
Yep.
but they don't want to publicly put that up. That doesn't look good on
Nope.
their website for the rookie inventors under Spark. And
No.
also, there's been some companies that we've had on, the companies that did the Squishamallows. There's been some companies that are just going to the moon, and Hasbro's been struggling. I wish them all the best, but their direction is changing, and I hope that they figure it out.
You guys, if we don't know that for a fact, that's my opinion. I'm guessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they did close it down when it was so important to them. In fact, we even had them on our YouTube channel to talk about Spark and why it was so important. But I think over the course of time, when someone shuts something down, it's not working.
So Brandon got this. He says he's been doing a lot of outreach. Funny enough, most of the companies I've reached out to, most of the responses have been something along the lines of, "We're not interested at this time."
Mhm.
And so can we talk about this "at this time" thing? And what does that mean? How do you guys interpret that? I think I'm going to give you my interpretation a little bit. I think it means like, you're a decent inventor. You're not sending me garbage. And so I wanted to say "at this time," as opposed to if the inventor is sending crazy stuff, they would say, "No, no, thank you." That's part of it, I think, with some folks. What do you guys think,
I,
Chad?
I have an opinion on that. I think people have a hard time just telling people flat out
Hmm.
no.
Yeah.
So I think that those extra few words are a way to make it sound polite. We're not interested. See how much worse that sounds when you just stop? We're not interested at this time. It's
Yeah.
I think it's
like this, like it's like a lingering, like hope, and inventors hang on to that. Oh, not at this time. That means,
Mm.
and it can mean that. I mean, you can go 6 months and reach back out. Maybe the climate of the company is different, but most of the time it means they're not interested. It's just,
no, it means, like I said earlier, it either means it's not a good fit, or it doesn't have a point of difference,
you're
or it
right.
costs too much, or the timing isn't right. You guys, it's really simple, right?
And it's
So
all of those reasons, but they don't want to type an email to you to tell you that. You know what I
no,
mean? Or any of those reasons. A lot of times they like it. Okay, so say I've had companies where like maybe that is the case where, like you said, where there's all these different factors or whatever, but they didn't want to take the time to have to explain all of that to me.
no, and they would rather leave on a positive note.
Right.
Yeah, and I also believe that when they say it's not a good fit, the average person might think, well, it's not a good fit because it's not a good fit. But it is a good fit. They're just saying it's not a good fit to say, no, we're not interested.
Because not a good fit doesn't always mean that you reached out to a company that was in the wrong category. It means it was
No.
not a good fit because like any of the number of reasons that Steven said,
Yes.
time, this, that, or whatever. So just because they said not a good fit doesn't mean that you were reaching out to the wrong types of companies. That's not necessarily what that means.
But
Yeah.
never, ever, ever let that conversation just die right there. We would always respond. I would always respond with a "thank you so much for your time. May I send you more ideas?" This is the relationship. This is why we're so good at what we do, because I've been building relationships for 8 years. because I never just let it, I never just, okay, they said no, I'm not reaching, I'm not even gonna thank them for their time. Appreciate your time. If I have any more ideas, can I reach out? We do that all the time.
A lot of you don't have
Always have.
other ideas right now, but you should leave the door open, because that's not to say that you're not going to continue to invent in that space.
Yep. And I'll tell you, this is an interesting story that happened to me. I reached out to a guy who worked for an itty bitty little company when I was doing my shower caddy. He said, no, whatever, not a good fit, not interested, whatever he said. I said, thank you so much. Can I send you over more ideas if I have them? Yes, absolutely. So what that tells me is I was doing the right thing. Now he works, and through the years, I've been friends with him on LinkedIn, and we've been kind of like, back and forth every once in a while, commenting on each other's stuff. Now he works for a gigantic company.
They just move around. You guys.
Oh yeah, they do. Thank goodness that I didn't shoot that I built. We're building relationships with people. If you want to get into this, you build relationships with people in your industry, and they will know who you are.
You know what's really crazy about that? I was pitching an idea in New York just years ago, and I knew everybody in the room and some people I didn't know. And then about a week later, I pitched the same thing down in Los Angeles at another company, and that there was the same person in that meeting
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
moved. And I realized, oh geez, we didn't say anything. So people in the industry just moved to different companies. So
They
Dana's
do.
right. Whatever you do, leave on the best positive terms. There's a very good chance you're going to see that person again.
Yeah.
Amy put a long question in here about going back to the crowded product category. And she was saying basically in a crowded category, is the competition itself enough of a barrier? Because the company said it's too crowded. So, and this also goes to another point that I want to make is listen to the company. Every company is different. Sometimes inventors tell me something happened with one company, and now they're saying, oh, this is true for my product for everybody. Now, what they're
No.
saying is, because Amy typed a whole bunch here, they're saying they didn't say you didn't have a point of difference. They said we don't want to be in that category. Let's say cell phones
Thank you.
because it's too crowded. That's our
But,
reason, not that your product isn't good.
but Andrew, here's the mistake she made. She submitted to a company that's not even in the category.
Yeah, well, there you go. That, yeah, absolutely. I saw that.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. So, but
So,
we're not listening
but,
when we do things like that.
well, yeah, I mean, if they're saying it's too crowded, they're not in it. So why would you submit it to them?
Right. Yeah, yeah. Like, and that brings up the point. We talk about this frequently. Companies are going to do whatever they already do and nothing else. Yes, your product's new, but they won't sell in a different type of store. They won't sell in a completely different product category. They'll do things slightly adjacent,
Yeah,
but they just won't. Oh, but they should. I love that company.
I
No,
know.
they're not going to do
They're
it.
missing an opportunity. They're missing $1 billion opportunity.
No, but that they're going to do whatever they already do.
I
But
know.
that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You say, oh, they're in this and this and this and this store. I want to tap into that. And, based on their product line and the other products in the stores, this fits in. It's an advantage. It's not a disadvantage, but you got to pay attention.
I think when a company says no, man, you just got to move on. Move on. Let that company go. They're not interested. You're not going to convince them. They didn't want it. Great. Good. I don't got to bother with you anymore. Move to the next one.
But you do follow up, like Dana said, like, just that, Kid and I submit ideas to you in the future. And I was just thinking another reason that we don't just let that go after they say no is you might be able to then pry more information out of them. If after you get that initial no, you might be able to get them to get into a conversation of the areas that they are looking to innovate. So, we're not looking to do this over here. I get that all the time. What we're really looking for is this, and this. Okay, well, I mean, you're the product developer, you're the inventor. See if you can do something along the lines of what they're looking for and submit
We
that.
only have a few seconds left here, guys, but Stephen counseled the inventor that invented this. He's in the UK. He's one of our students. And this isn't the product he went to the company with. He went to something else and he was complaining to Stephen, oh, they don't like my idea. And they're telling me that they want this and this. They want a mandolin that does, and they didn't, this is the product he invented eventually. So he was like, what are you doing, man? They're telling you exactly what you're looking for. This particular inventor was a product designer. He had a background in design. He's like, do what they're asking. And then he did it, and they're like, we love it. We'll license it. And so be flexible, and that's a little more extreme, but they might just want you to make changes to your product. Don't be so inflexible.
Yeah, no, I think what was so interesting about that, he showed them a potato peeler. And he said, no, we don't, that's not, we don't have a problem with that. This is what we want. And he called me up and said, no, they want me to do something else. And I said, well, they just gave you a target to hit. So why don't you focus on the target? And he did, and he got the deal. So it's like, just listen, make relationships. You guys keep pitching ideas. Keep on coming back to Wednesday. We'll see you next week. I think we're at the top of the hour. Are we, Andrew?
We are. We are.
Okay, good. You guys, Andrew, wrap up for us.
Well, I just want you guys, if are you guys coming back next week? Raise your hand for those of you on video. You're going to come back?
Oh,
Okay. All right.
sorry. Yeah, I'll be here.
Write down before you leave your desk. Yeah, of course, Dana's coming back. Before you leave your desk, write down what you would accomplish between now and next Wednesday. Have a deadline. Maybe you call one company, you work on your sell sheet, you do a little research, do something.
Yeah.
One of the things we tell our coaching students, you got to spend 2 to 6 hours every week. Never let a week go by where you're not doing it. Make it part of your weekly routine. That's a recipe for success. Chad and Dana that are constantly reaching out for our clients, it's part of their weekly routine. If you do it in fits and starts, it's just not going to work.
Put it on your calendar. We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
Put it on your calendar. It makes you want to do it. Whoever said that, I think Cynthia said it. I don't know if she's here right now. Put it on your calendar because I tell you, when you look at it, you'll feel guilty if you don't do it. So do it.
There you go. There you go.